Apparently it's fucking double downtime. I shouldn't even be talking to you guys. I've been court ordered to. My nose looks like it's fucking plastic. Definitely not the nanotech. Fucking weird. Court ordered by the Hampshire Probate and Family Court to have a mental health evaluation. And the judge wrote conspiracies in her last orders, like, whoops. Anyway, I shouldn't be out here talking because like all these videos will probably be used against me to make me look like, I'm an insane person and I can't be around my kid, which is what the mother has done to date and clearly what she wants. So, some background there. I was denied a paternity test for over 5 months to know that my son is my son. So I got to meet him, right after he was born, and I was requesting the DNA test right away, but that was delayed for about a half year. Um, I did not want to go to court because of my own personal experience growing up. Essentially, my father kind of, took custody from my mother in a way that I didn't really like, and I don't I know the courts were involved, but they didn't go to trial, and I didn't like the way that he did it, and so I wanted to avoid that. But that's probably not a realistic possibility, and definitely is not an option given the circumstances. I wasn't allowed to see my son properly, so I ended up going to court, and we started proceedings in October of 2024. And how it started was like 11 and a half hours every 2 weeks of visitation, which is also inappropriate. Like, that's not enough time for a child to be with their parent. Um, so, some disturbing things happened, which I reported. And because I reported them, I'm being treated like I did something wrong. I had originally asked that the mother have a mental health evaluation because she's exhibited signs of coercive control, physically not allowing my son to greet me upon arrival, physically attacking me, verbally, in front of my son, right? She's telling me to kill myself. No one cares about my opinion. No one cares what I think. That everyone would be happier if I were dead, and saying all this in front of my son. Now, the mother also has told me in the past that she engages in sexual activity with her whatever while my child's in the room. And this was around the time he was 1 or 1.5 years old. Has that behavior stopped? Not the other, there's so many concerning parts about this. On paper, she's lied many times over. One example is she told me that no one wants me at the daycare. I was picking my son up from daycare for one of the visit times on every other Wednesday. And I reached out to the daycare to confirm that, and they said that wasn't true. So I have these things in writing where she's lied. And it's all concerning to me. Compound that with the fact that I'm not being allowed to see my son properly, and where we are now, I told the judge repeatedly I don't want to have supervised visits with the YWCA based on my own personal upbringing, and I grew up having to see certain people, right, in institutions at times, and it didn't have a positive effect. And I told the judge that. Two separate proceedings. And also at those proceedings, those hearings in Northampton, the judge, refused to look at, my documents that were relevant to the hearings, right, for mental health and about the mother. So my proposal was logical. I said, let's have a health evaluation for both the mother and the father. They can select someone, I'll select someone, and the court can select someone, and then all three of those parties can interview both parents, and then we'll have a well-rounded opinion of both parents' mental health, right? And what did the judge do? So that most recent hearing that I'm referring to, the topics, the motions were mental health and also for me to have a drug test. So I just told you my proposal for the mental health. And the solution for that was just for me to have a mental health evaluation. I think the defense handpicked their psychiatrist. So, she just has treated me with bias every step of the way. This isn't the first hearing that she's treated me with bias. And then the other topic was the drug testing. They said that I drink and that they wanted me to be drug tested and whatnot. And so I said, I smoke pot. I don't know if that's a drug, but I don't drink. And you can drug test me, do whatever you want. But I have 4 drinks a year. I don't care. But I said, the mother smokes around my son, and, I know that she was keeping psychedelics in the fridge, so I would just ask that both the mother and the son, right, my son, be drug tested as well, do a hair sample. But there was no mention of the drug testing in the orders, but the judge was really careful to mention conspiracies twice. So we're going to talk about conspiracies. I know I just gave you kind of a background of my personal life about my court case, right? And I haven't had the mental health evaluation yet. And I've seen my son a total of 2 hours this year so far. The YWCA didn't have any visitation. We just got our first visitation on Friday, and then I said I'm not doing it after that because on 2 separate appearances I told the judge I didn't want to do this, and I told her why. I gave her specific reason based on my own personal experience as to why it was inappropriate. So we're not doing that. At this point, my next action is to go to the library today. I'm using one of the AI tools, ChatGPT, to help me formulate my documents to submit to federal court because the judge and it's not against the judge, it's against the courts. They violated my son's 14th Amendment right, and mine as well. So that's my next step, is to file the appropriate paperwork and name the appropriate parties in the federal court, not in the family and probate court. So try to hold the family and probate court accountable for what they're doing. Obviously, look at what I'm talking about. My situation is not unique. If you're paying attention whatsoever, you understand the corruption, you understand this is systemic. And yes, everything's burning down right now in World War III or whatever the fuck, so they can hide the Epstein files. But we're still going to try to do the right thing in the appropriate way and go after the courts. And, if they blow us all up or AI the shit out of us, it's like at least we were doing the right thing every step of the way. Pretty simple stuff, right? So that's where I'm at. That's a little bit of my background and what I'm dealing with on a personal level in my court case and how I'm handling it. Not a lot of fun, but again, I'm not alone, and there's a lot of other people who are in this boat with the family courts. It's a bunch of nonsense. In fact, there's like a Facebook page dedicated to Northampton Court because they suck so much. Who knew? Shocker, right? Anyway, me and, my personal stuff isn't the purpose of this video. I told you in the beginning, I shouldn't even be talking to you right now, right? Because they're just going to try to use whatever they can against me. That's okay. Fucking idiots. We're going to talk about conspiracies. Now, I'm going to tell you, about my personal experience, and you can call me a liar. You can call me a conspiracy theorist. Call me a paranoid delusionist who's crazy and nutter, doesn't know anything about anything, and uncredible, and I don't know, whatever. You say whatever you want about me. I'm used to it. I don't know what comes next. We are obviously not in a good spot, but I want to talk about, some things that we know to be true, right? Maybe with technology, and maybe we know to be true about the human biology and our physiology. Maybe we'll talk about some things that have been disclosed in the headlines or whatever, just patterns over history that, maybe form a picture. Um, I'll talk a little bit about my personal experience, what I believe to be true, um, and I guess the point really is just to get everybody to kind of understand where we're at, because buzzer beater, right? Fourth quarter, um, we're in it right now, right? So I'm gonna kick the car back on. I don't know if we're losing the audio or what have you. Hopefully not. So, where to begin? I'll take us to the beginning of when I woke up officially. Right, that was in 2015. I quit Apex Systems on the spot. Started getting targeted. Um, and my claim, my accusation, and what I've requested be investigated is Lockheed Martin and Rob McGuckin and Rand Blazer and Apex Systems to all their clients for EMF torture and electromagnetic frequency weapons, organized stalking, neuro weapons. Now, that all sounds like conspiracy, right? When I say it, when I say, hey, these guys and this is going on, right? That sounds like conspiracy. It sounds crazy, right? But there's thousands and thousands of people in this country, and probably millions worldwide, who are reporting radio frequency weapons and EMF weapons and this type of torture and organized stalking. So there's a lot of people out there who are saying the exact same thing. That still doesn't prove anything, right? Because you can look and say, wow, all these people are just, they're kind of crazy, right? But if we go backwards in history, and here's where some of the facts are important, right? We know about MK Ultra, that's well documented. But before MK Ultra, it was Project Artichoke. And before that, it was Project Bluebird. And there's a lot of different projects, that involve brain mapping and human influence and behavior modification and non-consensual experimentation. And that's everything that I just mentioned, right? So to say that what we're reporting is conspiracy, that just means that you're fucking retarded and you don't understand your own history of what the government's already done to our people. So if you're calling someone a conspiracy theorist for reporting stuff that the government's already done, you probably have something to hide, right? Or you're just stupid. It's one of the two, right? You're either fucking stupid or you're lying to hide something. What else do we know about these types of reports, right? We have the Havana Act from October 8th, 2021. And what the Havana Act admits is that U.S. personnel, government personnel, was attacked with what I think they call anomalous weapons. But we know within the last few months that these weapons are electromagnetic, and maybe they have one of these weapons, and maybe it costs a few $1,000,000 or whatever. And so we know that the specific types of frequency torture are in fact going on. We know that that's not conspiracy. The only conspiracy part is that they haven't officially disclosed that they're experimenting on the human populace, right, with these weapons. That's the only part. We know the weapons exist. We know they've existed and have been used against U.S. diplomats. We know that for sure. And we know that these sadistic programs have existed for over 70 years. Okay? We know that because Bluebird goes back to the 50s. None of that's conspiracy. The only conspiracy part is that the government hasn't admitted what they're doing to the public. So as recently as maybe the last 24 or 48 hours, Oracle got, more stuff, or I don't know. But when Trump's first first week in office during the second term, he gave Oracle billions of dollars for biosurveillance. And now, whatever they're doing, they're, in the last 24 to 48 hours with Oracle, I'm sure has to do with more stuff in the human body, right? I didn't look into the details. You can do that. So, what do I want to share with you? Oh, it's relevant at this juncture for you to also look up the DARPA N3 program. That essentially is non-invasive neurosurgery. Okay, that's the DARPA N3 program. Just try to think logically about what I'm telling you right now. Non-invasive, right? Non-invasive, no touch, remote, neural surgery. They can change your brain without touching you. Okay, how'd they do that? How did they come up with that technology? This is a current project now. And all of us who have done our due diligence, right, who, for whatever reason, couldn't look away, right, didn't want to look away, and for all of you to mock us and gaslight us and tell us we don't know what we're talking about when you don't fundamentally understand your own living history to date is irresponsible. It's a very irresponsible thing to do. And now you just look stupid. So the program's real in terms of the targeting. Like I said, I've been targeted since 2015. Call me a liar, call me a conspiracy theorist, call me whatever you want. The targeting's real. The neuro weapons are very real. If it's not clear that everyone's had a full frontal lobotomy, okay, a few years ago the government said, take this experimental vaccine, stay away from the people you love, cover your face, right? Cover your face up. Breathe your own bacteria back in, try to get you sick, and everyone just did it without question for the most part. Most people probably just did the thing. So, what's that? Right? It's getting worse with the technology and their agenda. You can look up Agenda 2030 again. You can call it conspiracy, but I think it's like credibly posted on world, websites and stuff. Like actual. I don't want to say government, but world organization governments or world organization websites. I think it's posted. Regardless, if you just kind of look backwards and look at what they're doing with the technology and the human body, you can piece it together. We know they're going to try to usher this change in under the guise of national security and for your safety. The absolute best and worst theory that I've heard around this, and it's the best because it's the most logical, given the technology and where we're at today, and it's the worst because it's also the most logical and probable. Okay, what happens next is likely going to be our own decision. It's going to be, we're going to think it's our own decision. Like, and again, I don't know what happens next, but logically speaking, and from what I've heard, it really sounds like there's a possibility that everyone can come to the same conclusion, like, oh, we have to do this, right? We need this technology to arrest all the pedophiles, for example. How about that? Who the fuck is going to say no, right? If the liars in office come at us and they're like, hey, we know how we can round up all of Epstein's clients. We just need to use this technology, and you guys give us your blessing, and that we'll have justice, right? Who the fuck is going to say no to that? So just think logically where we're at. They have the capability to read your thoughts, implant thoughts, erase memory, put memory in. They can fucking wipe your slate clean. They can obviously give you a heart attack. These weapons are no point entry. You're not going to see shit. And listen, if you want to verify what I'm talking about, go look at some congressional hearings and you got people from military talking in front of Congress telling you about the capabilities of these weapons, that they're designed to make people sound crazy when they talk about them and shit like that. It's not just me saying it. Like, this is verified record, so knock yourself out. Um, just so you understand the scope of these weapons, they can affect, large areas at once. We know active denial system is a thing, even though they'll tell you they've never like used it in the real world application, just like military testing and stuff. But yeah, they can wipe everyone's memory. They can kill people. They can affect crowds. Um, that's I think they can make you shit your pants, sneeze, cough. Right? You can look all this stuff up. Uh, I don't know what to do about it. Right? Education's got to be the first thing, because if you don't know what's going on, if you don't have a basic understanding of the patterns, of the history, of the intent, of the range of capabilities of these weapons that already exist, like if you just don't understand, then you cannot have an opinion. And we need all of you to have an opinion. Um, it's difficult, right, to talk to people in your family, friends that you've known. Anybody who's awake knows how hard it is to have a conversation with anybody. It's brutal. I had to talk to my father about the chemtrail. He's like, I've heard of them. I don't really know. Have you looked at the sky in the last 20 years? Like, it's tough, man. It's tough. But I'm an eternal optimist, and we don't have a quit button. Once you're awake, that's it. That's it. You're just awake. You don't go back to sleep. You don't forget the shit. I'm sure they want us to forget, right? They want to distract us with these wars. But we know how it goes, and we don't quit. So, I don't know. I don't get comments. Don't get a lot of likes. But if anyone's out there who's not a fucking Fed or a government employee or works for the court who's watching this, and you want to, drop a note, you know, say fuck you, you're crazy. I don't care what you say. Just, say something so I know you're not a Fed, right? Tell me I'm ugly, right? I don't give a shit. But I know that all the truthers are out there, and everybody's doing their part. And super proud of you guys for not backing down from the truth. If they Sam's an option at all, fuck them, right? That's an admission of guilt. Congratulations, thanks for telling us you're corrupt as shit, right? They can kill us all. Um, you know, but it doesn't matter. They clearly would rather wage world war and cover up these documents than hold people accountable, so the Dow Jones can continue to perform well. Hey, how's Lockheed's stock price doing today? Is that good? I haven't checked it. It's Monday, right? How's Lockheed doing? Yeah. All right. Hope everyone has a wonderful day. I got to go to the library here in a little bit and try to put together something that is coherent and truthful and makes sense and protects rights.